Level 1. You don't choose the starting line. You're 6 years old and live in a council estate in Rotherham. The walls are thin. The heating cuts out in February. Your mum works 2 jobs and still apologizes for things that aren't her fault. You go to the local primary school. It smells like old carpet and custard. Your teacher is kind. She's doing her best. But she has 32 kids in a classroom built for 20. 11 miles away, a boy your exact age is starting his first term at a prep school in Surrey. The grounds have a swimming pool. The teacher-to-student ratio is 1:8. His name is already on a list that connects prep school to public school to Oxford, to a career in the city or parliament. He doesn't know about you either. That's the first trick of the British class system. It makes you invisible to each other. Level 2. The accent test. You're 11 now. You sit the 11 plus. The test that decides, with one morning's worth of questions, which track your life takes. You pass. Barely. Your mum cries. She tells everyone. You get into the grammar school, first in your family. But something starts happening on day 1. The way you speak. The way you say bath and grass and class. Short vowels. Flat tones. Northern. The other kids don't say anything directly. They don't have to. You start hearing yourself differently. You start editing yourself mid-sentence. You catch yourself before you say nout and swap it for nothing. You say pardon instead of what. You perform a version of yourself that fits the room. This is called code switching. You don't know the term yet, but you become expert at it faster than you learn algebra. By year 9, you have 2 voices, one for home, one for school. Your nan says you've gone posh. Your classmates still think you're rough. You belong to neither world. That gap, that uncomfortable in-between, that is where the British class system does its most precise, invisible damage. Level 3. The geography of ambition. You're 16. You want to study architecture. You've always loved buildings. You tear pages out of magazines. You sketch facades in the margins of your textbooks. Your careers advisor is a tired man who has given this same appointment to 300 students. He looks at your file and says, "Have you considered something more practical?" And the hidden meaning was, "Have you considered knowing your place?" You don't recognize it yet. It just feels like realistic advice. Meanwhile, in Surrey, that boy from level 1 is already being prepared. His school has an Oxbridge prep program. They run mock interviews. They teach students how to speak to tutors as if they've been in the same rooms their whole lives. Because functionally they have. He applies to UCL. He gets in. You apply to UCL. You get rejected. Your personal statement doesn't have the right vocabulary. Your references are good but generic. You didn't do the Duke of Edinburgh. You didn't do the gap year. You didn't know those things mattered. You go to Sheffield Hallam. It's a good university. The lecturers are excellent. But the name on the degree will never carry the same weight in certain rooms. And the rooms are everything. Level 4. The internship that costs money to get you graduate. 2-1. You're proud of yourself to apply for architecture firms. You apply for 37 jobs in 6 months. 2 offer unpaid internships. 3 months. London. The cost of renting a room in London for 3 months was £3,600. The cost of transport, food, and existing in London for 3 months was another £1,500 minimum. Total, over £5,000 to access the bottom rung of a career ladder. You don't have £5,000. Your mum doesn't have £5,000. So you write back and decline. Politely. You don't say why. The boy from Surrey doesn't need to write back. His parents cover it without discussion. It's an investment. It's a bridge. In those 3 months, he makes connections that will outlast degrees and job titles. He gets invited to a colleague's Cotswolds house for a weekend. He meets someone's father. That father runs a practice. That practice offers him a graduate position before the internship even ends. This is called social capital. You don't have it. Not because you're less talented, not because you worked less hard, but because social capital compounds, and it starts compounding from birth. Level 5. The room. You're not supposed to be in. You're 27, you've built something. Against the current, through side doors, through grit. You work at a mid-size architectural firm in Manchester. You're genuinely good there, and your colleagues know it. Then the company relocates its senior office to London. You go. Now you're in a different world. The client dinners, the networking events in Shoreditch galleries, the casual weeknight drinks that aren't casual. They are where decisions are made, contracts are agreed, partnerships formed. And you're fluent now. Years of code switching have made you plausible in these rooms. But there's something you notice, something no one says out loud. The people who went to Eton and Harrow and Westminster, they move differently. They speak as if the world is already theirs and you're a guest. Not rude, not dismissive, just secure, in a way that has no clear source, because it doesn't come from achievement. It comes from never having been told, not once, to manage your expectations. You get passed over for a promotion. The person who gets it is less experienced than you. He knows how to talk about wine. His father plays golf with the managing director. You can't prove anything, so you don't say anything. Level 6. Old money doesn't announce itself. Here is the part no one tells you about the British class system. It doesn't peak at the top of your company. It peaks somewhere you can barely see. You start researching because you're that kind of person. You start looking at who owns what, who sits on what board, who went to school with whom. The same 74 schools, over and over. Eton alone has produced 20 British prime ministers. One school, 20 prime ministers. And it's not just politics. The judiciary, the media, the senior civil service, the Church of England, the major law firms, the boards of the largest companies, the same network, over and over, threaded through every institution, and these people aren't conspiring exactly. That's not how it works. It's subtler than conspiracy. It's comfort and familiarity. It's the way a Harrovian hiring manager feels at ease with a Harrovian candidate. It's not malicious. It doesn't need to be. The system maintains itself without effort, like a river following its existing bed, and you are water trying to flow uphill. Level 7. What you start doing to yourself. You're 32. You've made it by any sensible measure. You earn well. You live in a good flat in Hackney. You take holidays. But there's a silence you carry. You don't talk about where you're from, not because you're ashamed. You've told yourself that. You've done the therapy, you've read the books, but in practice, when the dinner party turns to childhood, to school, to where did you summer, you redirect. You make a joke. You answer a slightly different question. You've started to perform a version of yourself that has no origin, and the performance is exhausting. Because here's the dark part. You've started to believe that your working class background is a liability to be managed rather than a life to be proud of. The class system didn't just keep you out of certain rooms. It got inside your head and rearranged the furniture. Level 8. The inheritance. Nobody talks about you're 38. Your mom calls. She needs a new boiler. The old one gave up. The quote is £2,400. You transfer it immediately. You don't think twice, but you notice something. That £2,400 is nothing to you, and everything to her. And you think about the boy from Surrey, now a senior partner somewhere in EC2, and you think about his parents, who probably left him and his siblings a house, or two, or a portfolio, who paid off the mortgage before he got his first salary, who gave him what the economists now call an intergenerational wealth transfer. And you think about what you will leave. And you think about the fact that homeownership rates in the UK now track almost perfectly with parental homeownership, that the wealth gap between the top 10% and the bottom 50% in Britain has not narrowed in 30 years, not meaningfully. That social mobility, the stated dream of every government since Thatcher, left or right, has functionally stalled. Britain talks about class the way it talks about the weather, with mild complaint, quiet acceptance, and no serious plan to change it. Level 9. The polite lie. Every few years, someone publishes a report. The Social Mobility Commission, the Sutton Trust, the Institute for Fiscal Studies. The findings are always the same. The language is always calm, and the recommendations are always reasonable. And then nothing changes. or almost nothing, because the people who would need to change the system are the ones who benefit from it, not out of cruelty. That's the part people never want to hear, out of genuinely not seeing it. The most powerful form of privilege is the kind that feels like normalcy. When you've never had to fight for a seat at the table, you don't experience the table as a privilege, you experience it as furniture. Final level. The cycle. You're 41. You have a daughter. She's 8. You moved somewhere with a good state school. This time you know the Ofsted rating, you know the postcodes, and you realize quietly that you have done something the system taught you to do. You have used your resources and your income, your knowledge, your ability to read the system to give your daughter an advantage over children whose parents don't have those resources. You haven't sent her to a private school. You haven't paid for tutors, not yet. But you know the game now. You know how it works. And you are playing it, not because you're a hypocrite, because you love her. And that's the final mechanism of the British class system. It doesn't need enforcers. It doesn't need a ruling class consciously pulling levers. It just needs parents who love their children, and a structure that turns that love into inherited advantage. The boy from Surrey has children now too. They've already been put down for his old prep school. Waiting list. 4 years. The cycle doesn't end. It just moves to the next generation. And somewhere, right now, a woman in Rotherham is working 2 jobs. Her kid has her eyes, her kid is clever, and the board is already set.